For those who are starting off in development and want to use the Django, the most difficult part really to begin with is actually getting the environment set up in the first place. So in this tutorial, I want to go through some of the steps of installing Python onto Windows, and then setting up a virtual environment, and then installing Django. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Right, so let's first install Python so that we can program in Python programming language. Of course, Django utilizes Python, so we're going to need to install Python on our computer first. So to do that, I just type in Python into Google, go to the downloads or python.org, and just select download Python 3.8.2 or whatever version is current. So once it's downloaded, I'm just going to go and open up the download folder. Once it's downloaded, we're now going to install, but we're going to utilize the customize installation option. I'm just going to add Python to the path. That's going to be an important step, and click on customization. We'll just keep this for now. Press next. What I want to do is install it to the C drive. It's just for easy access, and we'll see why once we go along this series. Like I said, it's really because it's easy then to find. So that's all we want there. So we'll just press install. So we should have now, if I go to this PC, C drive, we've got a new folder here, and Python is installed or is being installed in this folder. Right, so once it's installed, I press close. Right, so once it's installed, I'll just close this window. We can now see if it's actually working by going to start, and you can see it's added some items here. So the IDLE, so I click on that, it opens up a Python shell, and basically from here we can type in some code and just see if it's working or not. So I print hello. So just some basic Python, press enter, and there we go. So that tests to see if it's working, and we're using Python 3.8.2 as we've downloaded. So now Python is installed. Next thing is to update pip. So pip is a package manager or package installer for Python. It was installed when we installed Python, but we just want to make sure that it's updated so that when we install Django, we know we're getting the latest version. So to do that, if I click on start and type cmd on my keyboard, open up the command prompt. From here I can access Python 2 by typing in Python. So I want to access a package, so I select the -m, and pip is the package name. And I basically want to install an upgrade, if available. And I want to upgrade pip. So you can see that on my computer, pip is already up to date. So that's the next task that needed doing. So now we can start to install some of the other packages, including the virtual environment and Django. Okay, so paint's out, so get ready for an amazing demonstration. So at the moment we've installed Python. So think of this container as Python. So what we could do now in this container is we could start to build projects. These circles are projects, so maybe we've got different websites we want to build. Now, in order to build these projects, typically we require some sort of dependencies or packages in order to get some of these things, these website technologies working. So with Python, we tend to have packages that we install in Python, and then these projects here websites, etc. They all need these packages to work. Now, if we worked by just installing Python and then start working and utilizing Python in this single environment to do all of our projects, it can get a little bit difficult sometimes, because these packages may be very difficult to manage all these different packages for all these different websites. And the reason why that might be is because, for example, maybe you've got a client who's running an older website utilizing Django, for example. That's fine. So we install it on our in our environment. But the problem is we don't want this old package, this new package, package 5 of this particular thing that this website needs. We need package number 4. So the problem being is that when we work in a single Python environment, we can't necessarily control or manage very effectively all the packages that we need for all the different projects that we might want to create. So instead of having one package or one environment, what we can do is we can create multiple environments. So within Python, for example, what we can do is create a virtual environment. So basically all of Python will get copied into a separate environment. So this environment or this container will be completely separate from the main Python environment. And that means that because it is a virtualized area, encapsulated area away from the main Python version, it means we can install all the different packages we need that's related to the particular project that we're going to build. So we can build lots of these virtual environments or containers, and for each project we might create a new container for it, and then obviously it allows us to control that container more effectively. So hopefully that kind of idea makes sense, because what we're going to do now is we're going to install the virtual environment and make a new environment or container. And once we've made a new container, we're then going to install Django into that container. And we're going to be working from that container that we build. Right, so to install the virtual environment, open up the command prompt again. So press the start button, type cmd, open up command prompt. So we need to install a new package. So we're going to be using the pip software. So we need Python, and then we're going to call the package pip, and then we're going to install the virtual environment. So that might take a couple of seconds to complete. Okay then, so to utilize this virtual environment, what we're first going to need to do is to navigate to the Python folder. So if you remember, we installed Python on the C drive, and this is partly the reason why I asked you to do that, because it's then easy to access. So I access the C drive. And what I've done there is typed in cd c:/. So that takes me now to the C drive if you've never used the command line before. And then I can press dir, and I can then work out where I am. So for those who've never used the command line like this, I'm now on the C drive. So you can see by typing in dir, that gives me a list of all the directories on the C drive. So the equivalent is going into this PC, going into C, and that's basically what I'm looking at there. So I'm currently working within this space. So you can see that there's our Python folder. So I'm going to change the directory now. So currently we're on the root of the C drive. So I change the directory to the Python folder. So if I type in py and then press tab, it's going to then finish my word here, which is the name of the directory. Now, if I typed in py and there was two folders with that name, I wouldn't be able to press tab, but because it's unique, py in this folder list, it's going to select that folder, and I can press enter, and now I'm inside the folder. I press dir, I can see what's in the folder. Okay, so from here, what I want to do is to create a new virtual environment. So I type Python. We want to use the software, so we select -m, venv, that's what we've just installed, the virtual environment. And I'm going to create a new project called new proj. There we go. So I press enter. So essentially what's happening now is that a new virtual environment is being created. So the current Python environment that we installed is more or less being copied into a package, a virtual environment where we can work and install different packages, install Django, and work independently from the existing Python that's installed. So we're not going to mess up the install or the existing Python environment that we have installed on the computer. So once that's done, I can now go into the folder, and what I need to do is I need to activate this virtual environment. So what I should have now, if I press dir, is there should be a new folder called new proj, which there is. And now what I can do is I can navigate to that. So if I type in cd and then new capital proj, yep. So inside of here, I've got a folder called scripts. So I want to go into that folder, and inside of here, I'm basically going to type activate. And there we go. So what I've done is I've now activated that virtual environment, and you can see on the left hand side it now says new proj, so which indicates the fact I'm now working within that virtualized this new virtual area that I've created. Now if I wanted to stop utilizing this, I just type in cmd deactivate. So let's just activate our virtual environment again. So now the next task, the final task, is to install Django. So obviously we're going to be utilizing the pip installation package manager. So we're going to type in Python, ensuring that you have the virtual environment running. So Python and then -m pip, and then obviously we're installing Django, so install Django. So this is going to install Django in our virtual environment, not our main Python environment. Okay, so one thing I forgot to do, because we're using this new virtual environment, we could have updated or we could have upgraded pip before we installed Django, but that probably isn't going to be a massive deal. But we'll just go through again, and you can type in Python -m pip install upgrade pip, so we can upgrade pip on our virtual environment. And if you like to, you can go ahead and press up and install Django again, but we already have the latest version installed. So the next task, we now need to, now we've installed Django, we now need to work out how to make a new Django project. So if you remember, we made a new folder called new proj for our new project. So that is stored in Python, and then new proj, and then this is where we currently are in our command line. So we're going to make a new Django project by going back here. We want to come out of scripts, so I type in cd ... So you can see now we've come out of this folder scripts and we've gone back into the new proj folder. So from this folder, this is where I want to create a new Django project. So to start a new project, we're inside the new proj folder, so right here. Yep, we're in this folder here. You'll notice now in scripts, we now have the Django admin because we've installed Django. So we're going to use this Django.exe to start a new project. So we're inside of this folder at the moment. So we need to access scripts. So we type Python, the folder scripts. So we go inside of that, and then we need the Django admin.exe. And we're going to utilize that then to start a project. We're going to tell it to start a project called My Site. Okay, so now what we should have is a new folder called My Site. There it is. So that's our new Django project. So the last thing to do, I guess, is to check to see if this is working. So inside of My Site now, we have something called manage or manage.py as we're going to be referring to it. So from this new project folder, we're now going to go into this folder here called My Site. So change directory My Site. So in here, we can access the manage.py file, and we're going to utilize that to run the server. So we've installed Python. We then installed a virtual environment. And then we created a new environment, a virtual environment, where we were going to install all of our packages, including Django. Then we started our new virtual environment. We installed Django. And after updating pip, we installed Django. And then we made a new Django project called My Site. So we then have gone into this folder. And this is what we start off with a Django project. And these files, and we're going to utilize manage.py now to basically turn on this project and to see if it works. So to do that, we're going to type in Python and then manage.py, and then we need the command run server. So once you do this, you'll notice that you'll be provided some information here. You can see that everything is working okay. There's something called unapplied migrations. Don't worry about that for now. But you can see that your site is running at this address here. So 127.0.0.1 or port number 8000. So what I can do now is open up the browser. I can type in 127.0.0.1 and then colon 8000. And there we go. So the installation worked and our project is ready to start. Okay, so you got to this point. I just wanted to follow this up with a quick guide on how to get back to this point starting from fresh. So I'm just going to close that down. Let's just exit that. So to exit the server, press Control and C. So that exits that. Now I'm just going to close this window. And that. So we're going to start from getting this project up and running again. If you're starting from a fresh restart. So first of all, I need to go to Start, type in CMD. So from here, if you remember, Python is installed on the C drive. So I type in C. So that takes me to the C drive. So what I can do now is change that directory to Python. Now, inside Python, I had a new project folder called new. Called new. It was in capitals, wasn't it? New proj. Yep. Okay, so I checked that directory, and you can see I've got my project here called My Site. Now, before I open up My Site and run Django, I want to start the virtual machine. And if you remember, that's in scripts. So I need to start that up. So if I just navigate to scripts, then inside I can just type activate. And you can see now I've started the virtual machine. So I press CD dash to go back a folder. So I'm in scripts. I want to go back to new proj, and there we go. And then from there, we're now going to go into my project called My Site. So that was the actual Django project I created. So remember, new proj is the virtual environment, and then My Site is the Django project. So change that directory, My Site. So I'm in there now. So I should have the manage.py file ready to go. So I type in Python manage.py and then run server. And there we go. So the server should run. So what if, for example, sometimes what happens is that you're running the server and it says, no, you can't run the server on port 8000 because it's already being used. So the easy way to get around that is you don't need to use port 8000. So if we run the server again, so Python manage py and then run server, I can actually define what port number I want to use. So one way, so for example, we know it's that. So the port number I want to use is 8001 and not 8000. So press enter and you'll see that that will open up the server on 8001. So it's just a case of going to the browser and typing in this here and you'll be able to access your project. So to close that, remember it's Control and C, and then you can just close this window, and there we have it. That's how to reactivate your project from scratch. If you are new to this sort of development, utilizing the command prompt, I can imagine there's a lot of things here to learn, and I didn't explain every detail, so by all means ask me any questions you have. This installation I conducted on a new version or a fresh installation of Windows, which it can make it run a lot smoothly. So there's bound to be problems. Just make sure potentially that your Windows is updated before you conduct or install these packages. But like I said, if you've got any problems or queries, then please just leave me a question and I'll try and help you as best as I can.